All right, all right, all right. Welcome to another edition to Motivational Sundays with Kevin and friends. We had a great February. We talked about our place in history. We didn't have a Black History Month. We had Black History. I am Kevin McLemore. I am your show host. I am joined with my co-host, Miss Chris Everett. Welcome back. She's been in a wonderful play and been absent for a little bit. We're so happy to have her back. The dynamic duo, the example of what love looks like, Christopher and Gilder James, my other co-hosts. Welcome. And we have Miss Larnez Kinsey. You talk about someone deep on another level. Hey, my job's always in jeopardy when she go ahead and shares her piece. And this show would not be the show that it is if it wasn't for our voice, my co-host, Mr. Otis Spencer. This show was originally created from the contents of more than 300 quotes that I had for my books. I had always wondered what quotes meant to other people based on interpretation and perception. We created this show. We talk about quotes. We stay very positive. We are a family here on this show, and we welcome you, our listeners. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and deliver the quote today. So, I'm going to turn up the mic to our voice, Mr. Otis Spencer.
Good morning. And this morning's quote is do something every day that you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring habits of doing your duty without pain. By Mark Twain.
Mr. Mark Twain. Not many of us that look like us have probably read this book, and then there's many of us that look like this that have read the writings of Mr. Mark Twain. And if you haven't, maybe you should. You know, the gateway to your future, your dreams, is through reading a book. And sometimes the power of the words will take you a long ways away from where you are. So, with that said, Miss Chris Everett, I'd like to hear how this quote lands on you.
Keep them.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. And I'm so glad to be back. I've missed y'all terribly. But yeah, this quote, the first time I read it, I thought, do something every day you don't want to do. And I was like, well, get out of bed is the thing I don't want to do right now.
The first one.
But I got up. Yeah, here I am. And the way this lands on me is, when I do things that I don't want to do, the rewards afterwards are so great, I mean, and just like the quote says, it's the gold rule for acquiring the habits of doing your duty without pain. Like I feel better when I do those things that I don't want to do, you know. I'm not saying like do things that you shouldn't do, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But it's the things that I don't want to do. It could just be making a phone call that I need to make, making a connection that maybe I've been putting off, but once I make that connection, my heart opens up some more. So yeah, it definitely resonated with me. And I thought about the other side of it. If I just don't do the thing and stay, I don't grow. I don't get to change. I was gonna use the word stay lazy, but I don't want to put that connotation on it. It's just I don't get to expand if I allow my head to get in there and say, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that thing. Don't do that thing. You know, if I say, okay, let's just try something, one foot forward, then I get to expand. So that's what I got.
And there you go. You got to expand. And believe it or not, getting out of bed is not that hard when you look at the other side of the coin. That if you didn't have the opportunity and could not get out of bed, all you think about every single day is getting out of bed.
Yes.
All right. So it's just another way of looking at the opposite side of the coin. Faces the gap in the gain. The gain is always better than living in that gap. So with that said, again, I got a chance on my drive back from New York to buy lunch for a couple of our military children that were standing in line at the rest stop I had, and I always want to tip my hat off to Mr. Christopher James. You know, he is again. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your services showing up here and bringing your lovely wife Gilda with us. But I'm curious, Mark Twain's quote, you know, doing something every day that you don't want to do is the golden rule of acquiring habits of doing your duty without pain. How does that land on you?
Let me do my old thing, and that's branch off in about 15 different directions. I was in Hartford years ago, and I actually went to Samuel Clemens or Mark Twain's house. And it's interesting how a northerner went south and found so many points of inspiration, so many great words, from the people in the South. Now, to get back to what Chris said about getting out of bed, just recently, the Chief of Naval Operations gave a speech at Annapolis graduation, and he talked about, not so much doing the hard things, but doing the things that will best propel you, or best support you, or best keep you going in the direction that you want to go. And it's funny, he went right to that first thing that Chris said, getting out of bed, except in his take on it, he said the first thing you should do is make your bed. Once you get out of bed, make your bed. Now, personally, getting out of bed is a chore, but not that big a chore. I can fall out of bed, but making the bed's always hard for me. I'll look back at it and say, I'm just going to mess it up again, so why even bother? But the CNO's speech spoke about making that your first victory, making that the first thing that you do, the first positive thing you do, and the first thing that you do that can be stacked and later added to what you're going to achieve in your lifetime. Okay, so going back now to Mark Twain's quote, we will avoid certain things for many different reasons. One of them is I don't like to do it, or it may cause pain, or may be hard to do. But doing those things, okay, will propel you to where you want to be, no matter how difficult they are. And once you get in the habit of doing those difficult things, they do become easier. You don't stop and think, well, I might get my hands dirty, or it might be hard on my back. You say, well, I got to get this done to get to where I want to go, so I'm going to do it. And before long, you're doing what you would have thought years previous impossible, but you're doing these things. You're now more of a superhuman than you ever thought you would be by doing those things progressively, and each time becoming more and more adept and comfortable at doing them. And to compare where you used to be, where you are today, you say, "Oh my God, this guy's incredible." Now the old man stops.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you do say difficult becomes easy, but you got to do the difficult part first. But remember, it's not the bed that becomes the task. It's the making of the bed and preparing it for the next night's rest that becomes easy. So, Gilda,
Yes.
let's talk about he said, she said. Let's see how this quote lands on you. But before you go on, Gilda, I'm going to ask Otis, for people that have just joined us, to go ahead and, with that silky smooth golden voice of yours, to go ahead and deliver the quote by Mark Twain again.
Do something every day that you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring habits of doing your duty without pain.
Listen to the way he said that. His voice sounded so smooth. It makes you want to pay his rent, don't you?
Come on, Doll. Come on, pay the rent.
Oh, dear.
All right, Gilda. How does that land on you?
Well, I enjoy what Chris said, and Chris said. They did a good job. But for me, what's hard for me, because every day is a new day for me, because I never know what it's going to be like. And it seems to me that what's hard for me to get over is when when you are approached by insults or, negative things throughout the day. And my challenge is try to be positive on whatever happens throughout the day, because every day is a different day for me. There's always changes. You plan for one thing, things turn out a different way. So what, to me, as far as what Mark Twain quoted is I have to be prepared for whatever happens throughout the day, because every day is a new day for me.
And every day
Oh,
is a
yes.
all right. Every day is a new day for me. I guess I'm feeling a kind of mood because it reminds me of something that Robin Williams. I met him a couple of times while he was alive. He says, I wonder what a chair thinks about every day.
Right.
Oh, here comes another asshole.
You never know, you never face it.
So when,
Yeah.
when you think about doing something that you don't want to do every day, think about being a chair.
Right.
You get some extra warmth, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Larnez, how does this quote land on you?
Um, this I don't think this quote is about punishment or discomfort. I think it's about growth. It's about building strength and discipline to face any challenges life throws at you, to do your due diligence with grace and ease. Um, It's about transforming what once was a mountain into a molehill simply through the power of your discipline and positive thinking. Each time you engage in these practices, you affirm to yourself and the universe that you're bigger than these challenges, stronger than your fears, and capable of achieving great things. When you cultivate these habits of doing your duty without feeling pain or resistance or procrastination, you're living your purpose in prosperity and peace. Your mind is such a powerful tool. What you believe you can achieve, doing something every day, beating at the challenges that you have. You're building your life for success. It's your testament of the infinite power in your mind and spirit. And your testament is your testimony, and your testimony is your test. So this is your living proof. If you change your thinking, you can indeed change your life. And that's how this quote hit me.
And indeed, you could change your life. I'm going to tell you, if this had been a Baptist church, we'd have passed the tray around twice, three times. Larnez,
Well, I am ordained, just in case y'all didn't know, I am ordained.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So we're going
Wow.
to turn this over. We're going at this at world-class speed right now. So many deep thinkers all in one space. I am so blessed. I am so grateful to my listeners. I hope you're tuning in and you're paying attention because the lights are on, even though that in some of us, our minds are in a dark place. The light is turned on right now. So Otis, one more time with the quote and give us your interpretation or perspectives on Mark Twain's words.
Absolutely. Do something every day that you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring habits of doing your duty without pain. Well, one thing, if you take care of the hardest task, then look all the free time you have afterwards. And if it's something that's very difficult that you need to do, never hesitate to ask for help. When you have someone with you, it makes the job a lot easier.
That's true.
And everything difficult has to become easy. Thank you. Thank you. So I guess it's mine. I hate following you guys, but at the same time, I love listening because I learn. Because when I first looked at this quote, the first thing that came to my mind is I started to think about all the problems of the world and what we are going through right now. And then I had to simplify it. So when I started talking about, thinking about uh, climate change, talked about biodiversity, poverty, talk about our education and inequality of that, unemployment, talked about ongoing conversations we have and experience as people of color with racism. We talk about the lack of that, children every single day go to our schools and don't have 3 meals, and sometimes the only meal they get was when they're at at school. Talked about gender bias. We talked about bias based on our weight, the way that we wear our hair and whatever. We talk about civil rights or even our justice system. We don't talk a lot about mental health. We're too eager to start a war, and we're so offended that we disrespected life altogether. The one thing that we don't talk about, and I don't want to talk about, is our government. But one of the things that when I look at this, it says do something every day that you don't want to do, which is struggle for a lot of people, because we've had this quote on once before about not knowing what someone else is going through, is being kind. You know how hard it is to open a door for someone and someone walk through without even acknowledging that you opened the door? It doesn't take a lot to say thankful. You know what it's like to look at someone that walks around and you say good morning to them, and then they tell you how bad their life is and you regret doing it. But because it's in your heart and it's on your soul, in order to be kind, you acquire that habit, which becomes a golden rule. It becomes part of your duty to be the example of the change that you want to see. So, when I look at this, I just said the simplest thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It gives you more deposits than withdrawals. It's just being kind to people, giving love, because if your heart is open to love, it's easier for you to receive love. And sometimes people don't know what it's like to ever be loved till they meet Chris Everett, Gilda, and Christopher James, until they're embraced and hugged and supported the way Larnez did over the past couple of days with me, Larnez Kinsey, or when they hear that silky smooth voice of saying good morning that's coming from our voice of this show, Mr. Otis Spencer. So the two things I say when you talk about the things that are most difficult in life is to be kind to someone and to love someone without ever worrying about being kind or loved back. Is that becomes the golden rule. So with that said, I want to thank our listeners for again supporting us, riding with us, giving us your positive feedback by subscribing and following and sharing our podcast, and then putting up with us, and having you delayed to go to your church. Hopefully, our ordained minister, Larnez Kinsey, has set you up to receive the word today. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart to my friends and my co-hosts and the ones that are working doing some other things, Denise and Naheem, David, and Andrea, we love you. We miss you. We can't wait to be joined with you. And with that said, my grandfather always said, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else out, it is your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, Larnez,
we fade to black.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, we're out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.